The human person as an embodied spirit. First of all, what do we mean when we say that a human person is an embodied spirit? Embodied spirit refers to the idea that the body and the soul of a human person are inseparably united. In other words, it means that a human person is the meeting point between a material and a spiritual entity. Hence, we cannot talk about man without also referring to the union of his body and soul. Viewing the human person as an embodied spirit allows us to understand better, not only ourselves as unique beings, but also our potentials and limitations as both body and soul. Now, to better understand the idea of the human person as an embodied spirit, let's discuss the ideas of one of the most influential philosophers of man, Aristotle. First of all, it must be noted that Aristotle's account of the human person is primarily a reaction against his teacher, Plato's concept of the human person. Let us therefore discuss first Plato's philosophy of the human person before continuing with Aristotle's. For Plato, the human person is composed of a body and a soul. These two, according to him, have opposite natures. On the one hand, the body is material, hence, it is mutable, or changeable, and destructible, while the soul on the other hand, is immaterial, and hence immutable, and indestructible. Because the body is destructible, its existence, according to Plato, is dependent on the soul, while the soul's existence is independent of the body. And, in one of his works entitled Timaeus, he argues that the soul existed prior to the body. He writes, "Soul is really prior to body in birth and excellence, the reason being that soul must be prior to body if it is to rule it." Plato believes that the body and soul are separable. In fact, for him, the human person is just a soul imprisoned in a body. When a person dies, therefore, the body decomposes, while the soul is set free from it and goes back to what Plato calls the immaterial world of forms. For Plato then, the body and the soul are not inseparable, and the human person is not an embodied spirit, that is, an inseparable union of body and soul. It is here where Aristotle's concept of the human person as an embodied spirit comes in. Aristotle disagrees with Plato's dualism of body and soul. He believes that a human person's body and soul are not separate or in contrast, but rather in unity. The two, for him, are inseparable. We cannot talk about the soul apart from the body, and vice versa. Aristotle defines the soul, or psyche in Greek, as the principle of life. Anything that has life, therefore, for him, has a soul. Plants, animals, and human beings. As the principle of life, the soul animates the body. Following his doctrine of hylomorphism, the soul is the form of the body, while the body is the matter of the soul. As no object or substance can exist without either a matter or form, so a human person, according to Aristotle, cannot exist without both a body and a soul. The two are inseparable in every human person. In contrast then, to Plato, both body and soul for Aristotle, constitute the human person as a whole. From this initial idea, Aristotle then distinguishes three kinds of souls: the vegetative, the sensitive, or sentient, and the rational. The vegetative soul is the soul possessed by plants. Plants have souls because they meet the three basic requirements to be considered living, that is, the capacity to grow, to reproduce, and to feed itself. The sensitive soul, on the other hand, is the soul possessed by animals. In addition to being able to grow, reproduce, and feed itself, it is also capable of mobility and sensation. As Aristotle writes, plants possess only the nutritive faculty, but other beings possess both it and the sensitive faculty, and if they possess the sensitive faculty, they must also possess the appetitive, for appetite consists of desire, anger, and will. All animals possess at least one sense, that of touch. Anything that has a sense is acquainted with pleasure and pain, with what is pleasant and what is painful, and anything that is acquainted with these has desire, since desire is an appetite for the pleasant. Finally, the rational soul is the soul possessed by human beings. Being the highest kind of soul, it is not only capable of growth, reproduction, nutrition, motion and sensation, but also of reason. Only human beings possess the rational soul. Now, since human beings have all the characteristics of an animal, the capacity to grow, reproduce, feed itself, move and feel, Aristotle then concludes that the human person is just an animal that thinks, or as he famously put it, a rational animal. If you like this video, please share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more related content. Thank you, and see you in our next videos.